Your inner speech is the creative center of your life. It is not merely a private habit or a harmless monologue. It is the engine behind every experience you encounter. Each word you utter silently to yourself carries weight, power, and direction. This inner dialogue forms the structure of your consciousness. And consciousness is the only reality. If you could observe the link between what you say within and what appears without, you would become intensely aware of the power you hold in every moment. From the moment you awaken to the moment you fall asleep, you are engaged in conversation with yourself. Even in sleep, the subconscious continues to replay and respond to these conversations. Most people speak to themselves with anxiety, with doubt, with criticism. They say things like, "I'll never make it," "No one sees me," or "I'm not enough." These are not idle thoughts. These are seeds being planted into the soil of the subconscious, and every seed will bear fruit. What if, instead of repeating your limitations, you began speaking your desires as if they were already true? What if your inner voice said, "I am confident, I am worthy of love," or "Everything I desire is rushing to me now"? This is not wishful thinking, this is spiritual law. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you believe, what you assume, what you persistently declare as true in your inner speech. The world around you is always reflecting your internal assumptions. When you say, "I never get a break," the world obeys. When you say, "I am lucky, everything works in my favor," the world obeys just the same. This is not psychological trickery. This is the law of consciousness. All cause is mental, and your inner speech is the cause behind the scenes. When you speak to yourself, you must speak from the end. That is, you must occupy the state of your fulfilled desire. You must not ask, "How will it happen?" You must declare, "It has already happened." This shifts your entire being into alignment with the version of you who already has the life you seek. And once you hold that assumption steadily within, life bends to it. Doors open, events rearrange, people show up. But it all begins with the soundless whisper within. There is a vast difference between hoping and assuming. Hope comes from a place of doubt. It says, "Maybe one day." Assumption stands firm. It says, "It is done." And assumption is communicated through inner speech. The difference between a life of delay and a life of manifestation is whether your inner words are spoken from hope or from conviction. And so, to change your life, change your inner speech. Make it deliberate. Make it focused. Speak to yourself like someone who knows they are powerful. Replace complaints with confirmations. Replace worry with certainty. Instead of saying, "What if it all goes wrong?" say, "Everything is unfolding perfectly." Instead of saying, "I can't," say, "I already am." Your subconscious does not question what you say. It accepts and executes it. When you say something repeatedly, it becomes your identity. And identity is destiny. The statements you make within are the blueprints for the life you construct without. You are always building, consciously or unconsciously. You need not force change in the external world. Simply persist in new conversations within. For 3 days, discipline your inner speech. Observe it. Interrupt the old, habitual phrases. Replace them with words from your desired self. Speak as if you were already the person you intend to be. Say it until you feel it. Say it until it becomes natural. Say it until the outer world has no choice but to conform. Speak now, not as the person you have been, but as the person you have decided to become. Let your words be filled with clarity, power, and expectancy. For you are not simply thinking, you are creating. You are not merely imagining, you are constructing reality through your inner voice. This voice is yours to command. Speak with authority. Speak with love. Speak from the end. Your world is listening. Assumption is not just a technique, it is the foundation of creation. It is the secret, often hidden in plain sight, behind every transformation, success, or breakthrough in life. The assumption of the wish fulfilled means living, thinking, and feeling from the place where your desire is already real. It is not merely imagining what you want and waiting for it to happen. It is adopting the inner position, the psychological stance of already being the person who has, does, or is what you desire. When you assume something, you accept it as truth, regardless of appearances. And in this universe, what you accept as truth becomes your experience. This is the law. Not a moral law or a societal law, but a spiritual law, the law of consciousness. Everything begins within, and consciousness is the only reality. Therefore, to assume a new state of being is to shift the very cause of your reality. If you wish to be wealthy, do not ask for wealth. Assume the feeling of being wealthy. Walk, talk, and think from the standpoint of one who already possesses abundance. If you desire love, do not seek it outside. Assume within yourself that you are already loved, cherished, and chosen. This assumption, held steadily, reorganizes the events of your life. Circumstances, people, and opportunities respond not to your wishes, but to your assumptions. This is not make-believe. It is not self-deception. It is the conscious use of imagination to activate the creative power within you. The world outside is only a mirror of the world within. Most people assume lack, failure, disappointment, and then wonder why their lives reflect that. But the one who understands this law begins to assume deliberately. They say within, I am, rather than I hope. They know that the assumption, sustained with faith, must harden into fact. When you assume the wish fulfilled, you are not denying your current reality. You are transcending it. You are recognizing that your current state is only the shadow of a former assumption. And just as it was once created, it can be uncreated, replaced by a new assumption, a new state. The key is to dwell in that state inwardly, repeatedly, with feeling. You must make it familiar. The more natural it feels, the more inevitable it becomes. Assumption requires no external validation. In fact, it often contradicts the evidence of the senses. But you must not be discouraged. The outer world takes time to reflect inner change. You are not asking the world for permission. You are informing it of your new reality by assuming it as already true. This is a sacred act, a spiritual discipline to claim the unseen as seen, the imagined as real, and the future as now. To assume is to claim dominion over your inner world. It is to say, this is who I am, regardless of conditions. It is to walk as if the promise is already fulfilled. And when this assumption becomes your dwelling place, your mental home, it begins to draw to you the people, ideas, and events that match your inner state. You do not need to fight circumstances. You need only to rise in consciousness. Every time you assume something new, you rise to a new level of being. And as you maintain that new level, the world must shift to meet it. The change does not come by effort, but by being. You are not trying to make things happen. You are being someone in whom they have already happened. Assume not just in words, but in feeling. Let your inner conversations reflect the assumption. Let your reactions align with it. Let your imagination support it. And most importantly, persist in it, even when nothing seems to change. For just as night turns to day, the assumption held with faith must externalize. The great secret is this: you do not attract what you want, you attract what you assume. Wanting keeps the desire at a distance. Assumption draws it near, so near that it becomes you. Live in the assumption of your wish fulfilled, and you will discover the infinite power that lies in simply a being. The past is not fixed. It lives only in memory and imagination, and both are subject to change. What you think of as a permanent experience, something that happened and now defines you, is, in truth, a mental construction replayed repeatedly in your inner speech. And because your inner speech is the creative power behind your reality, replaying the past in the same way simply regenerates it. But there is a secret hidden in plain sight. You can revise the past. Not by denying it or pretending it never occurred, but by changing how you hold it in your mind. The law of revision is the spiritual technology that allows you to reshape your relationship with time and become the master of your narrative. Each night, you review your day. Most people do this unconsciously, reinforcing all the frustrations, doubts, failures, and slights they experienced. They go to sleep rehearsing everything they did not want, and their subconscious receives this input as instruction. The next day, it recreates the same energy, people, and experiences. The cycle repeats, not because of fate, but because of memory. But memory, like imagination, is under your control. To revise the past is to return in imagination to the moment that troubled you, not to relive it, but to change it. You enter the scene as you remember it, and then alter it to reflect how you wish it had gone. If someone offended you, imagine instead a warm, supportive exchange. If you failed in a task, imagine succeeding. If you heard bad news, revise it to good. You feel the new outcome as vividly and naturally as you can And then you let it go, knowing that the subconscious will now carry this new memory as real. This is not delusion. This is spiritual causation. Because all time is now, the moment you revise the past in consciousness, you affect the present and alter the trajectory of your future. Your mind may say, but that isn't what happened. And to that you must respond. What happened in consciousness is what truly matters. The only reality that shapes your life is the reality you hold within. And the reality you hold within is changeable by your attention and intention. Some will ask, what is the point of changing what has already passed? The answer is simple, because the past, as you carry it, creates your present mood, your current beliefs, and your expectations of the future. If you were humiliated in the past and you continually replay it, you assume the identity of someone unworthy or unlucky. But if you revise it, you rewrite the script of your own identity. You change how you feel about yourself. And what you feel about yourself determines what you experience in the world. Revision is an act of love. It is self-compassion applied with imagination. You are not at the mercy of memories. You are not defined by old pain. You can go back and give yourself what you needed then: understanding, success, acceptance, love. And the subconscious will not argue. It will accept the new scene as fact. And as it accepts it, life begins to change, not randomly, but in ways that reflect your new inner atmosphere. The more often you revise, the more control you begin to feel. And it is not just the big moments that matter. Revise the small irritations of the day. Revise the argument. Revise the missed opportunity. Make this a daily practice. Not because the past was wrong, but because your future deserves freedom from its limitations. You are not bound to a script written in suffering. You are the author, and the pen is always in your hand. So tonight, before you sleep, go back through your day. Wherever something did not align with your ideal, rewrite it. Feel it as though it happened just the way you wanted. And then drift into sleep in the feeling that all is well. Over time, you will discover that the revised past creates a new present. People will behave differently. Circumstances will rearrange. Opportunities will open, not because the world changed on its own, but because you changed your assumption about what was. Revision is not about escape, it is about liberation. It is your tool for reclaiming power from every moment you once gave it away. Use it with faith, and you will discover that even the past must yield to the dominion of imagination. Lasting change does not come from sporadic effort, but from persistence over time. There is great power in repetition, in steady focus, and in the daily application of truth. Many people try to change their lives with a single burst of enthusiasm. They visualize once or affirm their desire for a day or two, then stop when nothing seems to happen. They mistake the delay of manifestation for failure. But in truth, it is persistence that determines success, not effort alone, and certainly not momentary intensity. The secret lies in sustaining a new inner state long enough for it to take root and blossom. Your consciousness is like soil. Whatever you impress upon it repeatedly will grow, whether it is wanted or unwanted. The subconscious mind does not care whether what you repeat is positive or negative. It simply accepts what you persist in thinking, feeling, and imagining. If, for even 3 days, you deliberately and consistently occupy the feeling of your wish fulfilled, the foundation of your reality will begin to shift. It may be subtle at first, but it is real. The momentum of years of habitual thinking can be interrupted in just a few focused days of assumption. You may wonder why 3 days can make such a difference. It is because consciousness does not operate on time in the same way the physical world does. One clear moment of belief can outweigh years of doubt, just as a new seed, once planted, can begin to grow and eventually overshadow an entire field of weeds. The key is nurturing the seed through persistence. And 3 days of sustained, deliberate inner work begins to establish a new root system in your mind. From there, reality adjusts. Persistence is not about forcing results. It is not about trying harder, gritting your teeth, or begging for change. True persistence is gentle. It is faithful. It is the quiet decision to remain in the state of the wish fulfilled, regardless of what your eyes see or your ears hear. It is staying loyal to the invisible over the visible. And this is the difference between those who manifest their desires and those who remain stuck in cycles of hoping and waiting. It is in the moments when nothing seems to be changing that your persistence matters most. Anyone can believe when the evidence is favorable, but to persist in your new assumption when the old world still reflects your past beliefs, that is where real power lies. You are not required to fix the world. You are required only to remain faithful to the new state within yourself. Your assumption will do the work for you if you let it. And this is why a short period of focused commitment, such as 3 days, can be transformative. When you make the decision to observe your thoughts, redirect your inner conversations, and remain in the state of your desire as fulfilled, you begin to dissolve the hold of old beliefs. You train your mind to align with your vision, and your inner world becomes stable. From that stability, outer change emerges. Imagine waking up each day for 3 days and deliberately choosing your state. You begin the day affirming who you are. I am successful. I am loved. I am abundant. You speak to yourself as if it were already true. Throughout the day, whenever the old self appears, you gently correct it. No, this is who I am now. At night, you review your day and revise any moments that fell short of your ideal. You fall asleep in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. If you do this for 3 days, truly do it with intention and sincerity, you will feel the shift. Even if your outer world hasn't changed yet, your inner world will no longer be the same. And because the inner governs the outer, change must follow. So do not underestimate the power of short-term persistence. You are not trying to force a miracle. You are aligning with what is already true in the unseen. You are giving the soil of your consciousness a new seed and choosing to water it for just 3 days. And in doing so, you awaken a force within you far greater than circumstance. Your imagination, your belief, and your identity. These are not small things. They are the authors of your reality. And 3 days of loyalty to a new state is enough to begin the great unfolding. There is a common misunderstanding in the pursuit of goals and desires. The belief that the harder you try, the more likely you are to succeed. People have been conditioned to think in terms of effort, struggle, and constant striving. But when you begin to understand the deeper laws of consciousness, you realize that true transformation does not come through effort alone. It comes from being. It comes from entering into a new state of consciousness and dwelling there. Not occasionally, but consistently and naturally. Your reality is not changed by how hard you try, but by who you are being in each moment. Effort belongs to the realm of doing, and while action has its place, it is never the cause. The real cause of your life experiences is your state of consciousness. And your state of consciousness is determined by what you accept as true about yourself. This is why you can work tirelessly and still see no results. Because you are acting from the same inner state that created your current circumstances. To truly change your life, you must rise to a new level of being. You must feel alive from the reality of your desire already fulfilled, not as something distant you're chasing, but as something present that you are embodying. This shift is subtle, but it is profound. It is the difference between trying to become successful and simply being the person who already is. The one who tries is always reaching, always hoping, always doubting. But the one who is, who knows within themselves that they are already what they desire, moves through life with quiet confidence and clarity. They no longer seek to prove or strive to earn. They simply express what they have already accepted as true in consciousness. Trying harder often leads to more frustration because it reinforces the idea that you do not yet have what you seek. It declares, I lack, even when you're working toward abundance. It affirms, I'm not there yet, even when visualizing success. But being, the calm, assured inner stance of already having, produces ease, flow, and results that appear almost effortless. This is not passive living. It is living from the root rather than the surface. It is living from identity rather than performance. To enter into this state of being, you must cultivate a new relationship with imagination and feeling. You must regularly visit the scene of your fulfilled desire in your mind, not as a hope or a fantasy, but as your reality. You feel it as done, you speak from it. You make decisions as if it were already yours. And over time, that state becomes natural. You no longer pretend, you simply are. This is why it is said that everything comes from within. Your external world is only ever a mirror of your inner assumptions. The more you try to force change on the outside, the more resistance you encounter. But when you shift internally, when you change your concept of yourself, the world begins to reflect it, without struggle, without force. Just as naturally as a new seed sprouts when given the right conditions, your new state begins to express itself in your life. What you must understand is that being is not a one-time event. It is a practice, a daily returning to your desired state. And the more you return to it, the more it becomes home. At first it may feel unfamiliar, even fake. But persist gently. Remind yourself, I am not trying to become. I already am. Hold this truth not with effort, but with quiet conviction. Even if nothing changes around you immediately, do not be fooled. The shift has already occurred where it matters most, in consciousness. And consciousness, being the only reality, must eventually produce its reflection in the outer world. The action you take from this place will be aligned, efficient, and effective. You will no longer act out of desperation, but out of inspiration. So let go of the need to try harder. Release the struggle. Instead, step into the quiet power of being. Decide who you are, assume it, feel it, live from it, and reality will conform, not because you forced it to, but because you became it first. Inner conversations are the secret architects of your life. Every moment, whether you are aware of it or not, you are speaking to yourself. You are narrating your experiences, labeling yourself, defining what is possible, and predicting your future through the steady, invisible dialogue taking place in your mind. These inner conversations may seem trivial, but they are not. They are the very substance from which your reality is formed. The law is simple. What you continually say to yourself, you eventually believe. What you believe, you eventually live. Therefore, mastering your inner speech is one of the most powerful tools for transforming your life. Most people allow their inner dialogue to run on autopilot. They rehearse memories of past failures, replay conversations that made them feel small, and repeat beliefs inherited from fear, doubt, or limitation. They do this unconsciously and then wonder why life continues to give them more of the same. But once you understand the creative power of inner speech, you are no longer a victim of thought. You become its master. You realize that every word you whisper to yourself, every phrase you habitually repeat is a seed, and every seed, when nurtured, must grow. If you continually tell yourself that you are not good enough, not smart enough, or not lucky enough, the world will mirror those beliefs back to you. You may not notice it immediately, but over time, those inner confessions shape how you walk, how you speak to others, how you see opportunities, and what you dare to pursue. Your inner talk becomes your self-concept, and your self-concept becomes your life experience. But this law works both ways. The moment you begin to speak to yourself with love, certainty, and power, you initiate a new cycle of creation. You begin to recondition your mind and align your being with what you truly desire. To change your life, you must talk to yourself as the person you choose to become. Not just when you're inspired, but consistently. You must speak from the version of yourself that already has what you want. Instead of saying, I hope this works, you begin to say, it is working perfectly. Instead of saying, I'm always stuck, you say, I'm constantly growing and moving forward. These new inner statements must be spoken not just with words, but with feeling. You must feel their truth, even before it appears in your outer world. This is not about lying to yourself. It is about telling a new truth, a higher truth that aligns with the life you want to live. The truth is not what the senses tell you. The truth is what your consciousness accepts as real. And what your consciousness accepts consistently, your life must express. The moment you take control of your inner dialogue, you take control of your future. You begin to use your mind deliberately as a tool for creation rather than a recorder of old stories. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you love and believe in. Uplift yourself with your words. Encourage your spirit. Correct yourself gently when old, limiting statements appear. Replace them with words of power, presence, and possibility. Do this not once, but as a daily practice. Morning, noon, and night, make it your mission to converse only with the version of yourself that you choose to embody. Over time, these new inner conversations become natural. What once felt foreign becomes familiar. And when it becomes natural to think and speak like the person you want to be, you become that person effortlessly. Your outer circumstances begin to match your inner language. People respond differently to you. New doors open, and you will not need to force these changes. They will arise as the inevitable reflection of your sustained inner dialogue. So guard your inner speech. Refuse to speak defeat, lack, or limitation, even in thought. Choose your words carefully, for they are your commands. Let your inner world be filled with the language of faith, love, and certainty. And as your inner talk transforms, so will everything else. For your life is always listening to the way you talk to yourself.